Welcome, everybody, back to There Will Be Bets. This is the episode for the divisional round of the NFL playoffs. We're also going to throw in the college football playoff national championship on Monday. I am your host, Cole Oxane. As always, I am joined by my co-host, Jake LaSalle, Drew LaSalle. And boys, what a weekend it was. The games were good. The games were really good, actually. As far as the NFL product goes, I think they could have given much better as far as drama goes, as far as games going into the fourth quarter within one score. But this is a betting podcast. We're bettors, and you really only have fun when you win bets. And hand up, we did not do that. As a group, we went 0-3 on our best bets. Everything else we gave out wasn't much better. Jake's Steelers lost, so that didn't help morale in any regard. We'll touch on everything going on with the Steelers here in a minute. But, boys, how are we feeling this week? We got to get up off the ground. We got to get up off the mat. It's what Rocky always says. It's not how bad you get hit. It's how well you get up. So I guess it's time for us to get up off the mat this week. But how are we feeling? How's the morale?
It was a tough week. The Steelers game, very hard to watch. We'll touch on it a little later with the coaching hires, but that offense was uninspired and didn't even want to show up, basically. And then go to some of the other games we had. Yeah, the Jags game was tough. I thought that the Jags were in it for most of the game. A couple of coaching decisions I feel like cost them that game, and Josh Allen played really well. And then a couple other the games, the Rams just. A lot of their receivers felt like they were in slow motion. It felt like they thought they won that game already, and they came out flat. And it was just a tough game, tough week. We were reading the board wrong, so on to the next one.
Definitely feels like one of those you overthink it a little bit type of weeks. If you bring it back to like the overarching trends that you heard throughout the week of wildcard week, unders went 4-2, very simple. And all the dogs went 4-2 as well. And those are like two of the highest performing trends that we talked about last week. And sometimes you get caught up in the mix of it. And naturally, the two dogs that all of us really liked a lot were the two that did not cover. So that's going to happen. And part of betting is like Cole alluded to, getting up off the mat, even when you don't even want to get out of bed after a Saturday and Sunday like that. So try to keep the morale as high as possible, but yeah, tough one. Take it on the chin. On to next week.
Yeah, I think these guys touched on it pretty well, but we were just wrong for the most part. We were saying on our best bets before we started the show, we were saying that none of us were really even close, even if the games felt close. Pretty much the only game we were all in consensus on that really went the way we thought it was going to was that Jags game, like we mentioned. Just at the end of the day, when you bet against good quarterbacks, sometimes they beat you, even if you have the better team. That's just what happened in that game. Josh Allen's a better quarterback, plain and simple. And, that's what scares me this week. I don't know what the hell to do with the Bills game this week because it feels like it's the same exact script again, where I'm looking at a team I think is better across the board, but they don't have Josh Allen. So we'll see how that ends up when we get to that game here in a little bit. As far as talking about the downfall of a weekend, no one had a worse weekend than the Philadelphia Eagles. Even compared to us, it couldn't have been as bad as what they experienced in that Philadelphia locker room. Talk about a demise of a former defending Super Bowl champion. Nick Sirianni, I don't think they're calling for his head yet because he won that Super Bowl last year. They already kicked Patullo out the door. Jalen Hurts has been getting dragged through the mud despite being a Super Bowl MVP. Drew, you're a noted Philadelphia hater, so I'm going to let you take this one first. But what do we think about this Eagles team? Is this just their pattern that they have an off year, then next year they're going to be a Super Bowl contender again? Or is this a sign that, maybe Howie Roseman's luck is running out with his roster he's putting together? Is it all just coaching? What's your take on the situation of Philly?
No, I think it's like we've talked internally that you have limitations at the quarterback position, whether you want to admit it or not. And the second that you have a slightly deteriorating offensive line, whether I know Lane Johnson was playing in that game, but O-line is a bit older, a bit not at what it was when they even were going to the Super Bowl and lost to the Chiefs the first time and when they won it last year. But I wouldn't go as far as say Howie Roseman's roster construction isn't what it is. I think that's still one of the most talented teams in the NFL. I think you got to get a bit more creative on offense, and Hurts has to expand his game. Like there's clear signs of him having issues reading defenses and making the throws when they're there. Twitter will be a deep hole if you want to go down to see. Yes, there's a lot of repeat play calls by Petula, but guys are running open. And I know that AJ Brown's getting dragged too. He had a pretty poor game, and as a Cowboy fan, I love to see every single second of it, because there's no business that Philadelphia should lose to the Niners in that spot. No Kittle. It's unexcusable, but yeah, you're right. Maybe there's a pattern. They bring in somebody new at offensive coordinator next year, and they right their wrongs, because they're certainly talented enough to do so. And you look around the NFC, I mean, I don't know how much longer Stafford has. I know he's playing at an MVP level this year. I think you got the Bears kind of up and coming. The Packers are kind of wobbling. I don't even want to talk about the Cowboys situation, but it's still a wide open NFC. I know Seattle's thriving right now, but you don't really trust Darnold. So a lot of questions in Philly. I'm loving every second of it, but at the end of the day, I need to be honest with myself. That's still a Super Bowl caliber roster.
I don't think it's the roster construction. I really don't. I think that is probably a top 5 defense still. I said it last week, and I think they showed that other than a big blown trick play, which that can happen. I mean, that's just some big balls on Shanahan, really. Other than that, they played well. They were able to get stops when they needed to get stops. Quinion Mitchell forced a key turnover in that game. They just were, unfortunately, handing the ball right back on offense. I think that defense looks great, and I don't think Jalen Hurts is necessarily the problem. I just don't think he was part of the solution either. I think that past offensive coordinators have proven that they can create an offense that puts him in good positions. They did it last year. Kellen Moore was able to do it way more, with things like motion, things like easier pre-snap reads, and all of that if you get the right offensive coordinator in there, again, I don't think Jalen Hurts is necessarily the problem. I think you just have to be fully accepting of what he is, and that's how you win with that, is you can't ask him to do more than he's capable of. And Jake, I know you feel that way too, and maybe you even are a little bit, more of a strong feeling against Hurts, but what's your take on this Eagles situation? Do you think they need to make more drastic change than just the offensive coordinator? What are you feeling?
Like, I feel like Hurts is one of those quarterbacks that people either hate on him or think he's elite. I think he falls right in the middle. I think he's a good quarterback that just needs the right offensive mind behind him in order to thrive. And like you said, he had it last year, and that's why they won the Super Bowl. And this year with Sirianni and Petula, they just didn't have it. And I think that was just a clear showing in that game of the better coach. Like, Shanahan was the better coach, and that's why they won. And I think it's just time to look in the mirror if you're Philly and just say, hey, we might need to look at a different coaching change, because clearly the coach is what drove us the last time. Like, an offensive mind is what drove us to success last time. And if we because I feel like in classic Philadelphia fashion this year, most of the games they won were on fluke plays, or they made a stupid decision and got bailed out because they just have so much talent, like we've said. And eventually it caught up to them. So they need that coaching to get over that hump and not have to rely on just talent alone.
For sure. And I think just organizationally, I think we see that year after year that they're at least willing to make those changes, right? They're not the type of organization that sticks with somebody longer than they have to. They've proven that. They did it again this year with Petula. So I think they are the type of team who will rebound quickly. They don't like to sit still. They do now have more of that winning culture. So again, they're not going to tolerate anything less than that. So that's at least good news for Philly fans. We'll see how it plays out. I agree with what Drew said. I think it's a wide open NFC. And I think that, especially with all the coaching changes in the league, finding an offensive coordinator, this might be the best time to do it. There are a lot of guys who lost their head coaching jobs that might be rebounding by going to be an offensive coordinator. So it might be the year to be in the market for an OC, if we're being honest. One of those guys in particular, Mike McDaniel. Now, given there's so many coaching vacancies, my guess is he gets another head job. But we recorded last week on Wednesday. He had yet to be removed of his duties as the Dolphins head coach, but he is now on the market as a potential OC head coach. The Dolphins now looking for a head coach. And then on top of that, another guy who I don't think will be taking any coordinator jobs, but will definitely be on the market for a head job, is Mike Tomlin. That's the big news. After the Steelers' loss on Monday, he stepped down because, of course, the Steelers are too proud of an organization to ever fire anybody. It has to be a let go, let down situation, whatever. Nonetheless, they part ways. Mike Tomlin out in Pittsburgh. Now 3 of the 4 coaches in the AFC North gone from their team. The only one left standing somehow, some way, our good friend in Cincinnati, Zach Taylor. But another discussion for another day. Both these guys now in that pool of coaches we've talked about last week. Jake, I'll go to you first so you can touch on the Steelers. But what are we thinking with these guys? Do you want Mike McDaniel to fill the role? What are you thinking from the Steelers' perspective and just in general, now that there's some big names out on the market, how do you think this plays out?
Yeah, so like I said earlier, after watching that game, it was a very uninspired performance out of the Steelers, and I completely understand the Tomlin like letting go. We've been talking about it for a couple of weeks. It's just at this day and age, you can't really your head coach has to add value to the offensive or defensive side of the ball. He can't just be a locker room coach anymore. And I feel like that's what Tomlin was. He like the locker room was behind him, but because of that, we kept cycling through offensive coordinators because any good offensive coordinator wants to become a head coach. So the Steelers just kept cycling through offensive coordinators, and then our offense has just been terrible for the past 8 to 10 years. And that has caused us to be just good enough because Tomlin is a good coach, but never take that next step. And I think that's why they're moving on. You mentioned Mike McDaniel. I think he is a terrific offensive mind. I do think that as a head coach, he is the opposite of Tomlin, where he is just not at all a locker room presence. He's just a goofy guy, like great offensive mind. I think he's a fantastic offensive coordinator. I just don't know if he is the head coaching material to take a team to the next level. So I could see him possibly going back to San Francisco. We've joked about go back to Shanahan. I would not like him as a Steelers head coach based on what I just said. I know there's other guys like Joe Brady that I'd be interested in, or even Stefanski. The Browns let him go. I think he's a really good ad for the Steelers. So there's a couple of names that I think the Steelers could go through for that would be good hires.
Yeah, I think Jake makes a good point. I don't see McDaniel as a good fit there. I don't know. It's so challenging because the Steeler mold, the Steeler mentality is always a defense first, gritty, rah. Even Coward was like a defense first guy, and like it's weird to think about them going with an offensive minded head coach and one that's just like, yeah, it takes on a different kind of personality. So I don't know. I struggle with the Steelers. If I'm a person who's interviewing for head coaching jobs, I'm not necessarily seeking out the Steelers if I'm an offensive minded head coach. Think about the situation you're walking into. A complete uncertainty at the quarterback position. You're once again sitting in the early 20s as far as the draft is concerned. So you're kind of just outside of the range of having an actual chance at one of these higher level guys, even though Dante Moore just announced he's going back to Oregon. But yeah, I don't know. McDaniel, I think, gets another head coaching job because there are so many vacancies and the candidate pool is just a little light and leaves a little bit to be desired. So as much as it would probably be a better step for him to go back to San Francisco or to get set up in another positive, like maybe Atlanta, there's better situations I think he can step into and do what he does best. But I think you see him get hired by somebody soon. Really, once I think John Harbaugh makes his decision between the Giants, the Falcons, and the Titans, it sounds like.
I do think it is a perfect opportunity if a coach is looking for that type of rebuild mentality, because we do have a lot of talent that could be trade stock. I feel like, if you come in, you trade, Highsmith, Watt, Ramsey, you get some draft picks, and then like next year, you're going to have a letdown year, and you could possibly be going at one of these top tier quarterbacks that you could then build up. So I feel like there is some value in going to the Steelers as an offensive minded coach, because there is a potential rebuild angle that you can play.
I actually think that's the way the Steelers should go. If it was me, I think that's what a good NFL organization would do, which is understand that you have flattened out and the only way up is to strip it all down. I think they should bottom out. I think they should trade everybody they can, even if it means eating some contracts. I think you get younger. I think you open up the ability to get as many draft picks as possible, except that this is a very weak quarterback class. You're not in position to draft one anyway, so great. Let's try and make that happen next year. Let's try and be in the top 10 when there's quarterbacks that are worthy of that draft pick, and let's see what we can do with a guy who can build his roster. I think that's the way I would do it. And now, again, I'm always going to lean young offensive mind. I understand that's not the Steeler way. I think you could absolutely find some guys who are willing to commit to that aren't necessarily young and up-and-comers, but people who are willing to accept that this is the situation. And the one nice part for a coach is stability. As we've talked about, 3 coaches in the history of the Pittsburgh Steelers. They're not going to drop ship on you at the first sign of anything going poor. They're going to give you time. They're going to let you work things out. So I think the right guy can do a lot of good with that Steelers. It's just they got to commit to it. And now, maybe they won't. We could unfortunately end up in a world where they're just still settling for mediocrity because they're just too damn proud. We'll see what happens. I think that the name will be a little uninspiring, but if it's the right name, it can still work itself out. If I had to guess how things work out, if they can't, like Drew said, get John Harbaugh, which it's kind of going to feel like they're not going to, especially given the whole Ravens-Steelers dynamic. I just don't see that working out, on top of the fact that there are some more sexy jobs available this go around. So that's my take on it. I think that overall, a lot of head coaches, I agree that John Harbaugh's the domino. We're waiting for everything to fall. One name, I know it's been thrown out there on Twitter. I don't believe it. I don't see why you would ever do it. Is Kurt Cignetti possibly the next head coach of the Pittsburgh Steelers?
No chance in the world. No.
Yeah, I mean, it would be certified crazy to do that.
Why? He wants to win at every level.
No. You got major Raheem Morris energy in Pittsburgh.
I'm thinking very much a retread. The other name that came to my mind is Mike McCarthy. That's the name I think.
Perfect.
Very much hire a retread. He's stable. They know what they're getting from him. He looks like a guy that can fit in the Pittsburgh culture. I think that probably makes the most sense. But we'll see what happens. I guarantee at least one of these teams, whether it's the Steelers or not, is going to do something crazy and hire somebody we did not see coming. Whether it's a college coach, whether it's a guy that has not been a head coach and you pluck him off of a coaching staff, or it's a guy we haven't heard from, maybe like a Vic Fangio or a Vance Joseph type, where you're like, we've seen this before, but you're going to try it again type hire. Something crazy's coming with this many openings and such a weak talent pool, like Drew said. I think it'll be fun to watch play out. Now let's hop into a segment that I think we all need this week. We all need to get something off of our chest. It's rant time. Jake, you want to start us off? You're talking about a specific coach who was part of our rough weekend. Take it away.
Yeah, I'm going to go into Liam Cohen's offense in that game. The Bills are the worst statistical defense the last 8 weeks of the season, including the playoff game against the run. They ran the ball a total of 15 times, averaged 8.5 yards a carry. Only 15 times the entire game. It's not like they were getting blown out. They didn't need to throw. They ran the ball only 15 times and only 7 in the first half. And they found themselves trailing at the end of the first half. There is no reason why they should have been trailing in that game. There's honestly no reason why they should have won that game. Josh Allen played spectacular. He is a fantastic quarterback. He's the only person on that Bills team. Their defense is horrible. They can't stop the run. And their offense has no weapons. It was literally Josh Allen the entire time, and then Liam Cohen deciding if he wanted to give them a chance by running play action and having Trevor Lawrence throw the ball into coverage. It was horrible to watch. They could have easily just controlled the clock, ran the ball, and won that game. And they decided to go in the other direction.
The NFL is really a fickle mistress sometimes. As much as we like to laugh at the people who say it's all about the coach and the quarterback, I think that in this case, it was some coaching decisions by Liam Cohen, and it was the quarterback play out of Josh Allen. And simple as that, that's what won the game. It was a toss-up game, and at the end of the day, we can look at these stats. I agree that looking at it 10 times out of 10, I'm going to be on the Jaguars in that spot. I would do it again tomorrow. That doesn't mean it's going to go our way every time, and I think that's just what it came down to. But it was frustrating. It's incredibly frustrating when those of us sitting watching at home can figure things out that someone we know is a premier offensive mind can't figure out.
I don't put as much on Liam Cohen. I get that they could run the ball whenever they wanted to in that game, and that part was really frustrating. What was frustrating to me is, as good as the Jags defense has been against the run, this season, and they were again, by the way, 26 of 79 in total for the Bills in that game. Where they really got beat was in the short, quick game, like getting the ball out, a lot of screens to Shakir. I think he had 12 catches out of like the 20, 25 or so passes that Allen completed in that game. Like weren't like making adjustments to respond to him just like getting the ball out quickly. Like everything was happening within 10 yards of the defense, and it was really frustrating to watch him just take over in that second half, despite 3 different times that he looked dead on the field in that first half. I give him a lot of credit, but I put that more on the defense a little bit. I thought Lawrence threw a couple picks, but ultimately the offense did what they needed to do, and obviously the fourth down conversion, or I should say not conversion, in the first half was kind of like a turning point in that game a little bit. Cam Little misses the field goal at the end of the half to crush our at least getting a push in the Jags first half money line, but there's a lot of blame to go around in that one, but I can't be too upset. Liam Cohen made us a lot of money in the futures market this year with what he did in Jacksonville.
Yeah, and I feel like that's what bothers me even more about the coaching decisions in that game is I know he is a good coach, but even he came out of the second half when they did the second half interview, and he was saying, "Oh, we only rushed the ball 7 times and had 10 yards of carry. We need to run the ball more." Like, the fact that I can see it on the couch and scream it on the couch, and then he realizes it in the second half when they're down 10-7 for no reason is a bit ridiculous.
I think that at the end of the day, it's a cliche in sports, but it's a cliche for a reason. Experience builds character and it builds the future. And I think that Liam Cohen, this is his first playoff game as a head coach. I think what he realized is you don't get to make those mistakes. At the end of the day, you don't get margin for error in the playoffs anymore. You know, you lose that game during the regular season, no one bats an eye. They keep telling the great story of the Jacksonville Jaguars. You lose that game in the playoffs, now you're the team who underachieved, right? So that's the difference, I think. I think that Trevor Lawrence has now got a few playoff games under his belt. This is another one. He's looked good at times, he's looked bad at times. I think Liam Cohen now finally has one under his belt as the OC. A lot of the players on this team have joined the team in the last couple of years since they made their last playoff appearance. So I think it's overall going to be a net benefit for them, but that doesn't change the present. And it was incredibly frustrating to watch for a team that we all thought could be a Super Bowl caliber team, and to watch them just kind of fall flat at home. If we're going to stick in that game, though, I don't have a problem with anyone on the field. I got a big old problem with Tony Romo. I don't know if you guys watched this game with the sound on. I've started to turn the sound off more in general when I watch football, but my God, you cannot listen to this guy anymore. He makes Booger McFarland sound insightful with what he says on the broadcast. Not to mention that that's even when you get words out of him. Most of the time, you just get noises. And he is sitting next to the GOAT, the Hall of Famer Jim Nantz. Silky smooth voice, and I can't hear any of it because it's nothing but hims, haws, and I don't know, Jim, coming out of Tony's mouth. And there was one point in this game where he literally said the words, "I don't know anything about this game. I know a lot of football, I don't know anything about this game." Thanks, Tony. That was real insightful. I am so glad I'm listening to you break down the game. This guy is so far removed from the once calling plays out before they happen wizard we used to get. I don't know if it's the contract that he just kind of is cashing in and half retired playing golf. I don't know if it's what everyone says it is, which is he no longer has the game plans from when he was playing. So God forbid he watches any film or does any of the tape work that announcers have to do. Meanwhile, we got Tom Brady, who was a stinker of an announcer a year and a half ago and is now climbing up the charts of fascinating announcers to watch, breaking down the nuances of throwing the football in the wind and actually breaking down what Shanahan's doing on offense and the way he can expose the Philadelphia defense. And then you just contrast that with Tony's noises and Jim's frustration with them. My God, man, I can't watch CBS broadcasts anymore. They got to make a change. I don't know what they got to do. Maybe they poach Greg Olsen because Greg Olsen's been fantastic. Maybe they elevate J.J. Watt to the number one spot. I know we talk about teams eating dead cap all the time. Can CBS eat the $18 million of dead cap they have on this Tony contract? Because I, for one, mute button from now on. That's just me. I don't know what you guys think of it, but that's just me.
I agree with this. We've talked about this for a little while now. Tony has progressively gotten worse as the years have gone on. Really hard, and like you said, it's just really hard to like see because Jim Nance is just such a great commentator and so like interesting to listen to, and they're just ruining it. I completely agree with the Tom Brady take. He has gotten tremendously better over the past year, and I feel like it is a little bit of what you're saying. Like Tom Brady is cares and is putting in that energy to get better, whereas Tony is kind of just checked out and cashed out, and he's just on the decline.
Yeah, I don't blame him.
Yeah,
I wouldn't be trying either if I was him. I think this narrative is really tired personally. Like I agree. Like he's not what he used to be, but like this pops up every single year around this time, and like this is like the most like overused take in my opinion. Like he's not going anywhere until the contract runs out, so it is what it is. I'm a homer. I love the guy, no matter how bad he is on TV. But I just also don't think they mesh well together, like Nance and
no.
Romo. Like they don't think they're even when he was really good. I didn't think they were like a perfect pairing. So
I don't think he meshes with anybody.
yeah, I mean maybe not. I mean guys just different. I don't know what to say, but
Yeah,
there's
and
plenty of
it's
announcers that I think are hot garbage that are still on. Like I think Gus Johnson is an abomination, but everybody fucking loves that guy. He ain't going anywhere.
yeah, I think when you look at like Romo and Collinsworth, like both of them are just so freaking goofy, and they're with, in my opinion, the two best play-by-play guys right now, which are Nance and Tirico. These guys are just poetic with the way they can call a game, and meanwhile you got these buffoons making noises and talking about stuff that has nothing to do with the game. It's brutal.
Collinsworth uses Romo like a shield. That dude is abysmal. I hate listening to Collinsworth, man. That dude. I don't want to go into all the stuff around when he played and some of his weirdness, but as an announcer, yeah, equally brutal listen to Tony Romo. But he's even like more dated and out of touch with his PFF nonsense too. I can't stand Collinsworth.
I think the real take is just the NFL has shifted more to just a mute button and listen to something else while you watch the game.
Yeah, I think maybe it's me being cynical in my years of watching football, and I find criticism in all the announcers I watch. But I agree. I've got my desk set up here. I've got two screens, and wouldn't you know it, my screen that doesn't have a speaker is where I tend to put the football game, so that way I can just live with my own thoughts instead of having to hear all these buffoons getting paid way too much money. Instead of us buffoons who get paid no money.
I think it's also the better mindset too, is like you're so far ahead of what's being called out from the commentator perspective that you get irritated that much easier when they're saying shit that is irrelevant to you. I already thought about this 10 minutes ago and you're just now bringing it up, but in the second you see it too when commentators like bring up the gambling component in a game, like gamblers just like wet their pants, like oh, like they feel seen and like acknowledged in those moments. But I think even that's like kind of like lost touch because that was like a big Al Michaels thing he did like 5 years ago. But there's just like little things that I think gamblers just kind of differentiate themselves when it comes to commentary in the NFL.
Yeah, no, you're right. I think 4 drives ahead and what I need to have play out. Meanwhile, Chris Collinsworth is telling me that Gerard Mayo's too deep. He's not going to blitz. Shout out for those who remember that clip. All right, that's enough time wasted on the commentators. I think we've got it. You know me, I like to rant about my commentators. It's one of my favorite hobbies. It must be like cathartic for me. So I guess we'll move on from there and we'll head into the best bet segment. All right, well, now that we're done ranting, we're on to that best bet segment. Like we said, rough week last week. Thankfully, we only picked one apiece, but that dropped our record to 32, 24, and 1. We're still 57% on year to date, so we're still up. We're still having a good season so far for the podcast, and we're looking to get back on the right track this week. We got 4 games to choose from, so obviously a small slate. We're doing just one best bet again. And Jake is going to lead us off. He was scorned so badly on Monday, he's going to flip around and back the team that scorned him. Jake, what are you doing for your best bet this weekend?
Yeah, I'm taking the Texans +3, +3.5, whatever you can get. I really just don't understand this line. I thought this line was going to be under 3, probably closer to pick 'em. I think the Texans match up really well against the Patriots. The reason why I like the Steelers against the Texans, I discussed it last week, was because the Steelers are havoc-minded defense, which they obviously showed. They just never converted any of those plays. And that's really what stops them. And the Texans are a run first type of team, and the Steelers had a decent run defense. I think the Patriots are the opposite. They're not really a havoc minded defense. They're kind of just a slow, don't give up a lot of yards, but their weakness is their run defense, and that's exactly what the Texans want to do. So I really like the Texans in this matchup offensively, running the ball against the Patriot defense and just, playing a kind of control the clock type of game against them. And then on the defensive side of the ball, obviously we saw it against Pittsburgh. I know Pittsburgh's offense is horrible, but I really just don't see how this Patriot offense puts up a lot of points against the Texans. I don't see how these receivers get open. The one strong suit of the Patriots is just running everything through Drake May, and he'll just make the receivers get open. With this pass rush, and them being able to run, nickel coverage and just shut down some of these receivers that they don't have a lot of talented receivers, and just contain Drake May, I just think it matches up really well into everything the Patriots want to do.
So in this game, I lean the Texans as well. I like them. I will end up being on the Texans. A couple of things scare me. Number one is this feels like it could easily look like the Charger game all over again, where you get an inspired performance out of the defense and the offense just let you down. Now, good news is Texas defense is better than the Chargers defense, so they might be able to put the clamps on even harder, maybe force an extra turnover, get an extra big sack. That's good news on that front. And while the Patriot run defense has been tough, Drew's boy Milton Williams is back. And my God, I don't know how this defense is so hinged on one player, but all of a sudden they can stop the run again. Now, I know Omarion Hampton was out. I know it was just Kamani Vidal, the offensive line of the Chargers, beat up. But Milton Williams back, and all of a sudden the run game is being shut down again. That concerns me a little bit, given that is what the Texans want to rely on. And on top of that, looking like right now, when we're talking about one big injury for each team, looking like Christian Gonzalez is going to play for the Patriots. Unfortunately, Nico Collins might not play for the Texans. And of course, if you're going to have to go up against Christian Gonzalez, you probably want Nico Collins there. So a couple things that scare me, but I think I agree with Jake. I think that in these cases, in these playoff games, as we talked about, unders are winning, outdoor unders are looking good. And if that's the case, it's going to be a grimy slugfest. Give me the better defense plus the points. It's typical way to look at the game, but that's what I think. I think that this defense could line up against anybody and make it hell in a cell for 60 minutes. So give me D'Amico Ryans and the nasty dudes for the Texans. They proved they can play outdoors too. That was another big fear everybody had, was can they go play outdoors? They went and did it in Pittsburgh. Again, Patriots are a little bit better than the Steelers, but I don't think the weather's going to be a concern. I think defense travels. So I will be on the Texans in this game. Couple pieces that do concern me, but overall, I do think Texans are the right side if you're going to give me a field goal. All right, well, that will bring us to best bet number 2. This is a game that a couple of us just can't make heads or tails of. Drew, looks like you think you've made heads or tails. I don't know which one of this game, but you're going to the first game of the weekend. What do you got?
Yeah, give me the Bills-Broncos first half under, seeing 23, 22.5. Try to get the best available. 23 is key here, 13, 10, something like that. So, had a tough time with the side in this one. You've seen the number flip to the Broncos, but this one comes down to me. These are two teams that have struggled mightily in the first half this season. Look at their ATS records: Bills 5-12, Broncos 7-10. These are both teams that start slow, kind of work their way, feel their way into the game. You saw that with the Bills, even though they were up 10-7 at half, their offense really didn't get going until the second half against the Jags. And look at, I love explosive plays. So Bills offense relies heavily on those, both in the pass and in the run. Broncos defense, number 1 and number 2 in preventing both explosive pass and explosive run plays. You flip to the Broncos side of the ball. This is a team that wants to run the ball first, although they don't do it that well. That's where the Bills can be had. But again, this is not a super explosive Denver rush offense, kind of middle of the pack. Really been better with the explosive pass plays at times, but the Bills are a bit better in that department. So I think there's a lot of positives for both of these defenses. I do like the full game under as well, and maybe even the Bills team total under. I'll touch on that a little bit more later, but going with the first half under 23.
Yeah, I agree with this take. This has shades of the game earlier, Bills playing the Texans, where Josh Allen just really struggled against a premier defense that had a good pass rush and just a secondary that could cover his receivers that are nothing special. And that's why, like you said, the Bills also just are a slow start team. And we saw it in that game against the Texans a couple of weeks ago, and we've seen just in general every week. So I really like the first half look because I think that both these defenses will play well in the first half, and the offenses are very slow start. And the Broncos, like you said, their offense isn't that great to begin with. They really want to win the game on defense and control control the field.
All right. Well, Drew says play it under, but cut it in half. Play the first half. Don't let Josh Allen be Superman in the second half. So I think that's a look that Jake is on board with. I'm probably on board with it too. Hopefully our read is better than it has been when we've been in agreement as of recent on that one. But that will bring us to best bet number 3. I'm taking the San Francisco 49ers plus 7.5 versus the Seattle Seahawks. I think this is a classic case of the bye team being just a little bit overvalued. If we look at it, since 2003, home teams in the divisional round that are coming off the bye, they're 33, 44, and 1 ATS. That's 43%. That actually drops down to about 40% when they're a favorite of 7 or more. So those apply to the Seahawks here as the team coming off of the bye. It's a little bit of a rest versus rust. Again, I think a little bit of an overvalue when it's the team that is the 1 seed and everybody perceives them to be the biggest threat in the conference. Then on top of that, if you're looking for the 49ers, road teams that missed the playoffs the year before are 29-14 and 1 against the spread. That's 67% in the divisional round. So what that tells me is that teams that underachieved last year, that the market just takes almost the whole season to catch up. People just don't think they're quite the team that they really are. They're back, right? And that's what I think is the case with this 49 team. Is I think they've proven coaching some of the talent with guys like McCaffrey that they are a capable team. They belong in this conversation. They belong in the second round. These teams get overvalued, but they still can win the game. So that's why I want to take an entire touchdown with a coaching staff that I think is going to pull out all the stops. I think Robert Saleh has figured out a way to get every ounce of talent, every ounce of playmaking out of what's left of this defense. We know Kyle Shanahan can dial it up, and I think this line should be about 5 or 6 in my opinion. We saw this game a couple of weeks ago. It was ugly. It was nasty. There were turnovers. For some reason, Christian McCaffrey only had 8 carries. The 49ers were like 2 of 9 on third down, 0 of 2 on fourth down. Purdy threw a pick. I think he cleaned that stuff up. I think even if the game looks very, very similar to what it was, the chances that we can land inside that 7 are a lot better than whatever it was, that 1.5 point spread, when they played the last time. So I think there's enough here for the 49ers. I'm going to trust in the trends. I'm going to trust in the coaching. I'm going to trust that a guy like Christian McCaffrey or a guy like Brock Purdy can do just enough to hang around against a team that might be starting slow. Again, a lot of these trends say that they will start slow. They're a little bit overvalued. I'm going to take my shot with the 49ers.
Yeah, I can't blame you for wanting to take the points. I do think the under is more so where I'm leaning. A couple of really ugly games between these two teams this year. I just don't. I think the defense is as bad as the 49ers is. I think the Seattle struggles on the offensive side of the ball are kind of negated a little bit with how bad the Niners defense is. But yeah, it's a tempting number. Everything you laid out as far as the trends and teams off arrest and all of that, I think it all makes a ton of sense. I think losing Kittle is tough. You get Trent Williams in this game. You didn't have him in your week 18 game for the 1 seed there, so that's huge. Obviously, a huge difference in the run game with McCaffrey, but I think it comes down to which quarterback makes mistakes. And if you get bad Darnold and he's putting the ball in jeopardy, Purdy's got to clean it up as well. I thought he played pretty poorly in that Philadelphia game, made a couple of really bad throws that where he had guys open on the other side of the field and decided to go after Mitchell. So can't blame you for taking the points. It scares me, though.
Well, that'll bring us to a close for the best bets this week. We're going to knock on wood for some good luck going into the weekend with these. Again, it can't get much worse than it was last weekend, so we're looking for that upswing here. We're going to shoot for a positive weekend here on our 3 best bets. Well, now that we've covered those best bets, we're going to hop into our full previews of all 4 of the NFL playoff games as well as that college football national title game on Monday. But first, if you are enjoying the video, please go ahead and drop a like. to let the algorithm know that you love what we're doing and you want to see more. If you do want to see more, make sure you also hit that subscribe button, hit that bell as well so you never miss an upload from us. We're going to be covering the NFL all the way through the Super Bowl, and then we're going to be covering not only football but other sports into the football offseason. So stay along with us for the entire ride by hitting that subscribe button and dropping that like on the video. All right, well, Saturday, game number 1. This is kind of a weird phenomenon that it's not the Houston Texans. I guess because they played Monday night, we can't do them that dirty. But this is a pretty big game to lead off the weekend. It is the Broncos -1 versus the Buffalo Bills. Total is sitting at 46.5 currently. And this is the one game on the weekend I truly have no feel for. Everything in my body says you should take the Broncos here. They're the better team overall. They have the better defense. They can run the ball as well. And I don't trust the Bills' run defense. But the Broncos do not have Josh Allen. And unfortunately, they have Bo Nix, who I think is the weakest quarterback left in the playoffs, other than maybe C.J. Stroud. But, we could have that debate all day. And I think Sean Payton is probably even the better coach. Obviously, we know that the defenses just aren't even comparable. So to me, I want to be on the Broncos. I might end up on the Broncos, but Josh Allen alone scares me. You throw in the trends about the teams coming out slow and not being great against the spread as the 1 seed who got the bye. And in this case, the spread is a win. I don't know where to go with this game. I really am just scared of Josh Allen, to be honest with you. Jake, I know you kind of have similar thoughts. Where are you going with this game?
Yeah, literally the Broncos, in my opinion, blow the Bills out of the water in every asset except quarterback. And I know that is the biggest deal, especially in the playoffs. Josh Allen is the best quarterback, arguably, in the league, and so that is the scary point. I think that's the only reason this line is a pick 'em. But and even like I'd say, the coaching, I'd give the edge to the Broncos after what I saw out of McDermott, sneaking the ball on first down when the Jags had no timeouts, instead of like taking a knee or falling down and basically giving them 20. They gave them a full minute. Now, it panned out. They got a pick on the first play of the drive, but the Jags had every possibility to win that game, and it was all McDermott's fault. So I think that everything leans the Broncos side, but there is that Josh Allen factor. So we talked about it earlier. The only way I would lean in this game would be the first half under. I think both these teams start out slow. And the defense in general, the full game under is probably a good play too. I just don't know. I would probably say the Broncos, but Josh Allen is a scary guy.
I think I mentioned it a little bit. I do lean the team total for the Bills under as well. I just don't think they're going to be able to get explosives from James Cook in this game. I think they'll be a little bit more prepared for the quick passing game with Shakir, with Kincaid. Kind of really, I mean, you just put everything on Josh Allen, which is pretty much what they've done every week this season in Buffalo. But I don't see the path to a lot of points here for the Bills. Now, that's not to say that I think the Broncos are just going to come out and put up a 30 spot at home. I think they probably start slow, as they have all season, and we're in like a 20-17 game for the Broncos. I do think they move on and host the AFC Championship for the first time in 10 plus years.
All right, we're all pretty much in agreement on that game, and we all definitely agree that if there's anyone that can do it, it's Josh Allen. So that's the biggest takeaway here. Obviously, bet that and play that as you will. I think that these guys with that first half under, it makes the most sense to me as well. That will take us to game number 2 on Saturday. This is Seahawks -7.5 versus the 49ers. Total is sitting at 45.5. This is a third meeting of divisional opponents. Second time we've seen that this playoffs. Drew, how are you looking to play this game?
Yeah, I like the under in this one. It's come down, I think opened around 47 and a half even. So definitely some sharp money that's come in on this under. I think you get a repeat performance of the first 2 games that we've seen between these teams. Maybe not 13-3 ugly, but I do think that because Seattle has kind of struggled to really continue explosive plays outside of JSN, that they don't get it going as much. And I do think the Seattle defense is for real. You see them really focusing on McCaffrey and force Purdy to beat them in the passing game. And without Kittle, even if Pearsall goes, who I think was limited in practice today, I don't know that he has the explosive burst that they're going to need in that passing game. So, yeah, I lean under here.
Jake, sounds like you're in agreement.
The last 2 games that these 2 teams played against each other, the highest scoring game was 31 points. These teams have not put up any points, and it's because, it's a divisional game. They know each other very well. There's some good defense on one side, and And on that same side, the offense is a little lackluster, and that's why coaching comes out at the end. Also, in playoff games, coaches tend to be more conservative, and that leads to under games. And with that being said, if you're going to take an under, I like the 7.5. That's a lot of points for a team that's a game that I think can go under, and I think it's a little bit too much value for the Seahawks, in my opinion.
Yeah, I'll make it 3 for 3 on the under. Obviously my best bet is the 49ers. I think it's too many points. I think take the 7.5, but I'll make it 3 for 3. I think that it's going to be quite a repeat of these first two matchups. Obviously, each team won one time, so the way this ends up as far as who wins the game, I don't know. But I do think for sure that with the lack of performance out of the Seahawks offense in big games, I think we can pretty much bank on their defense to keep it low scoring on the other side. Anything above 45 feels like too many points. So I'll make it 3 for 3 on the under with these guys. Okay, that brings us to Sunday game number 1. This is Patriots -3 versus the Texans. Total is sitting at 41.5. And in this game, I alluded to it during Jake's best bet segment, but I like the Texans. I like the Texans +3, 3.5. I would take obviously the best number available. I think that this defense is elite. I think that, as we've mentioned in weeks past, when you look at them, they truly do analytically play out as a Super Bowl defense. And I think that Drake May has been good this season, but he has not played a defense of this caliber all year. I know we've mentioned it before that this Patriots team feels like kind of a paper tiger, and paper tigers fall very fast when they go up against an iron wall like this defense. So I'm going to trust in the Texans defense. I think as long as CJ Stroud takes care of the ball, they should always be within range to score and win the game. Whether it's a 10-7 type game, maybe it's a little higher scoring, in the mid-teens. I think that this defense for the Texans is not going to let the Patriots offense run away with this, meaning they're always going to be in it. So I'll take my chances with the better defense plus the points.
Yeah, I agree here. I think that's the right play given the low total. Probably lean to the under a little bit as well. I will say my one concern in this game is CJ Stroud turning the ball over. I mean, he did everything in his power to give the Steelers false hope in that game on Monday night. It was, and he'll probably see maybe not the same pass rush that the Steelers have. It's not really where the Patriots' strong suit is. Much better in the secondary, especially if Gonzalez is able to play. But yeah, he's got to take care of the ball, lean on what he marks, try to hit some quick passes. Likely probably won't have Nico Collins, unfortunately. They kind of get screwed with the scheduling there and in the concussion protocol. But yeah, I do lead in the Texans. I think this is probably another grimy, gross game, similar to what I just alluded to with the Broncos-Bills.
Yeah, and then Jake, I know it was your best bet. Do you have any other thoughts besides the Texans +3?
I do kind of like the under, like Drew said, but I would stick to the spread. I really like the Texans in this one. Like you alluded to, the Patriots really haven't played anybody this year, and against the few defenses, like good defenses that they played this year, the Steelers, they lost to the Steelers, only putting up 13 points. They barely beat the Ravens, where they shouldn't really have gotten an opportunity to win that game, but didn't put up a big score in that game. And then the Chargers defense, like none of these defenses are even that good. And they, like Chargers last week, didn't put up a lot of points. So I really think that the Texans defense is going to be the difference maker in this one. And the Patriots are going to have a hard time scoring.
I think we're all in agreement once again. It seems to be a trend here this weekend. So we're going to hope that these reads we've got are the best, but we're all taking the Texans +3 in this game. All right, that's going to take us to the final game, the Sunday game number 2. It's the Bears +3.5, +4. Hosting the Rams. Total is sitting around 49 right now. And wouldn't you know it, I think we're all in agreement again.
Yeah, I lean the Rams here. I think I'll end up taking a look at the team total for the Rams. Over sitting 26.5, I think is what I saw it at. See a lot of paths to success for the Rams offense. We've talked ad nauseum about how we feel about this Bears defense, and through 3 quarters last week, they proved us correct. I mean, they didn't show up. We saw huge chunk plays in the passing game from everyone except Christian Watson, apparently. But I think that you see a lot of the same with Nakua, with Adams, and I think they should have success on the ground here too. I think Blake Corum anytime could be a play if you want to throw a little sprinkle on that. But I have no idea what to do with the spread. Gut feels Rams. I think it's a really sharp number, though. I think you'll get buying on both sides with the pros coming in on the Rams and anybody else and their mother coming in on this up and coming Bears story.
I agree with the Rams side. I have been one of the biggest advocates for the Bears this year. I think they're a really good team, and I think Ben Johnson's an amazing coach. I just think the Rams are the better team here. I think the offenses, you might give the slight edge to the Rams, but I think they're pretty close. And then the defense, the Rams are a much better defense. And then coaching, I mean, it's a toss up. Like Ben Johnson, one of the best, McVay, one of the best. I think they're both amazing. So I think it's going to be a really good game, but I lean the Rams. I think that last week they came out flat. Devontae Adams looked like he was a little slow. He was coming off the hamstring injury. I think he plays a little bit better in this game. I think that Stafford plays a little bit better. I feel like he missed a couple of throws he doesn't usually miss. And I feel like they flipped the switch. They had their one scare. All championship teams have their one scare in a game where everybody thought they were going to win. And I think that was their game. I feel like they come out and they play really well. So I like the Rams to win by margin in this game.
I will not be going margin. That burned me last time. But I will take the Rams -3.5. I'm comfortable with that. I agree with Drew. I think it's a very sharp number. I think at best you can hope to maybe get a -3, but highly doubt it. You're probably going to have to lay that hook. I like the Rams in the spot for a couple of reasons. Number one, as we all know, I'm a trends guy. Teams that won their last playoff game but didn't cover, they're 21-12 against the spread since 2003, and they're 8-2 in the last 5 years since 2020. So I like that spot for the Rams. I think it makes a lot of sense. It means you show up for your first game. Maybe you're a little overvalued. You take care of business even if you shouldn't have maybe, and now you come out, you're refocused. You're usually the better team. And in this case, it's a road team favored by more than 3.5 in the second round of the playoffs. They're telling you who's the better team here. Now, again, does that mean they're only going to win by 3? Possibly. It's definitely a possibility. The Bears voodoo is crazy, right? And you're going to hear all about it. You're going to hear about Stafford outdoors, and people are going to talk about how that's going to be bad for Devontae Adams' hamstring and bad for Stafford's hand and all of this stuff. And you know what? They might just be right. But at the end of the day, one of these teams has been here before. They've done it before. One of them is the upstart team that we're probably going to fade into oblivion next year. I'm going to go ahead and take the team that's been there, done it before. I think I'll lay the points to the Rams in this one.
The crazy thing about that Rams game, too, was they didn't start slow. They were up 14-0 from the jump. That was one of the craziest games that I've watched this season, including the Rams-Seahawks game. I never would I have pronounced a team deader than the Panthers after being down 14-0, but they gave me a heart attack, an aneurysm, any ailment that you could possibly imagine at the end of that game.
Yeah, I guess that's one other thing I would say is if you're looking for like a little bit of a money line parlay, the Seahawks-Rams does make some sense if you're willing to go through what could be 2 cardiac arrest-inducing games to sweat out a money line parlay, but I think that both teams find a way to move on if I had to guess. That's something I can say.
NFC West.
Yeah, where do you find these trends? I swear you make them up before you get on the podcast.
Got an email service that sends it to him.
That's what I said. It sends him through the mail. He gets it on Monday.
Yeah, no paper service. No, not
it's a newspaper actually. A little guy riding a bike throws it at my door every Monday morning. It's great. All right, well, we covered all 4 of those NFL playoff games for you, but the weekend of football is not over Sunday. We do get the College Football National Championship on Monday. That game is Indiana -8.5 versus Miami. The total is sitting right now around 48.5. I've kind of seen it fluctuating. Looks like it's taking some steam, so make sure you get the best number available if you're looking at the total. Drew, you can lead us off. How are you feeling in this game? What angle are you taking?
Yeah, I lean towards the under. I'm going to sound like a broken record in this episode, but yeah, I like the under here. Anything under 47, 48 is good with me. I think you look at the Miami offense, what they've kind of found within this playoff has been consistency in the running game with Fletcher. He's been excellent for them and was again in the last round against Ole Miss, really kind of dictated the line of scrimmage with their O-line. I don't think they have that same ability against this Indiana front, which will then force Carson Beck to be the focal point of this offense. And really, if you watch anything Miami has done in this playoff, it's been everything through Tony. Quick game, crossers, not really a ton of deep balls, but they're so reliant on Tony to make plays after the catch. And I just see them kind of being contained a little bit. Where you really want to get Indiana is down the field, explosive passing, and that's not where Miami's made their money in the playoff thus far. Flip to the other side of the ball. I'm very concerned about Indiana scoring a ton in this game. I do think that Miami can get some pressure with Mesidor, with Bain. It looks like Mesidor is fine. He's going to play in this game. But I also look at Miami special teams, shaky kicking game once again. But yeah, I don't know what to do with the spread. I think it's a little inflated. But I do like the under. I think Miami struggles on offense in this one, and Indiana is at least contained a little bit by that strong front seven that Miami has.
I would probably, if anything, take the first half under. I feel like these games usually start slow. Nobody wants to make the first mistake. Two really good defenses, so they're going to come out. They're going to play conservative, run the ball a little bit more. So I like the first half under. I also like the full game under. Just worry about late game. Miami's down by a lot. They try and force it, get pick sixes because, it's the national championship. Nobody's sliding or anything. They're going to score because, you get a pick six in the national championship. So, and that's the same thing with the spread in this game is I could see the Miami being in the game, ready to cover, and then a pick six happens at the end of the game. It feels like Miami's the side. Everybody and their mother is going to be on Indiana, but Indiana's a freight train, and you just don't want to get in front of that.
Yeah, so I think I'll stand on the tracks in front of the train if no one else will. I think this handicap looks a lot like the one for the Miami-Ohio State game. Now, I get that you're getting a little less points here, and Indiana's a little bit better. I think that the market has adjusted some to how good Miami really is, but I think we're still overreacting to Indiana. I think that if you're going to give me over a touchdown, the principled take in this game is you have to take the plus 8.5 with a team like Miami. I think that this could end up being a little bit lower scoring. I know Cignetti loves to run it up, doesn't take his foot off the gas. Mendoza's thrown like 5 incompletions the entire playoff. I get all of that. Again, the principal take here is you have to trust the fact that Miami is as talented as any team in the nation, and that includes Indiana. I think there are a couple of games this year where you've seen Indiana play against good defensive teams like Iowa, like Penn State, somehow like Old Dominion, by the way. I know that's just a crazy game one that we've all forgotten about, but Old Dominion only lost to this team by 14 points. But if you look at those games, particularly against Iowa and against Penn State, what do those teams do? They establish the run, they play good defense, they can rush the passer. Those are the couple of games where Mendoza looked mortal. So I think that it could end up playing out like that. I think Indiana's probably going to win the game. As somebody who has futures on Indiana, I'd love it if they win the game. But if you're asking me where my take is on this game, I think, again, the principles say you have to take Miami as much as you don't want to. So like I said, I'll be the one for the podcast that if I look like an idiot, great. I've done it plenty of times this year. I'll stand on the train tracks and watch the Cignetti train come right at me, and we'll see what happens.
I mean, it does have shades of the Michigan Washington, where Washington was that underdog that came from the other side that people didn't think was gonna beat Texas, and then Michigan was just a steamroll. That's just what it feels like, and Michigan's just like two good defenses in that game, two good defenses in this game. It just feels like the one team that just is the better team overall just might steamroll. Now, I don't disagree with the take. In principle alone, the 8.5 feels like the right side.
Yeah, I don't think you're wrong. I think I'm the one who said it. I think the last time we broke down Indiana, I said that team reminds me of that Michigan team, and in fact, they're probably a little bit better. The real question is just where does this Miami team rank and stack up as far as we're looking at other teams. I don't truly know, but like I said, I'm just going to do it on principle. That's really my take.
They're like that Michigan team with NFL talent at receiver, essentially, is the difference in that. They have the guys up front on both sides. They have probably a better quarterback, in my opinion, but they have NFL receivers. They have 2 or 3 of them, and they can actually hurt you in the passing game. Michigan did it when the running game was rolling.
That's very true. So we'll see how it plays out. Again, Cignetti, I've never seen a man so destined for greatness in my life that again, if you're just asking me to look and envision these coaches, is it Mario Cristobal holding up the trophy or is it Kurt Cignetti? It's Kurt Cignetti every time. Like, that's just not even a question. I don't really even want to listen to Mario Cristobal. He's so boring and dry. At least Cignetti's entertaining to hear him talk. And like, he's been so laser focused, given like the meme look to the camera. I want to see him. I want to see the like Saban where he smiles once a year thing. I want to see that with Cignetti. So like, I do want to see Indiana win this game. But just let's have it by 7.
Google him.
All right. Well, that brings us to the end of another show. As every week goes on here towards the end of the season, we have a few less games to cover, so a little bit of a quicker episode for you guys this week. But we covered all 5 football games being played this weekend. All of them are huge matchups. We gave our thoughts. And so that'll bring us to the recap. And we agreed on everything. It was scary stuff to know that we agreed on everything. So it's going to be as Jake likes to say, it's going to be a get even or get worse type of weekend. So we will see how that goes. But we all agreed on the Rams. We all agreed on the Texans. Some of us didn't know what to do with the Bronco game, but we all kind of agreed that the first half under is the play. And then everybody seems to like the under and the 49ers in that game. So just, again, a lot of agreement on the board. That's the way we're looking at any of those games. And then as far as the national championship goes, we all think Indiana's winning the game. The only real differential was whether or not we think they're covering the point spread or if we're going to play the total. But at the end of the day, we think Indiana's going to be the team that lifts that trophy on Monday night. So again, that being said, that brings us to the end of the episode. Thank you guys for listening. As always, we really do enjoy this, especially on the weeks like this where we have to come and own up and face the music for all of our tough picks. It is fun knowing that we've got other people out there who are riding along with us. So we thank you for that. And if you did enjoy the video, please go ahead, drop a like on the video, hit that subscribe button, hit the bell as well so you don't miss any of our episodes from now to the Super Bowl and into the offseason as we continue this journey with you guys. Other than that, let's do something we didn't do last weekend a whole lot. Let's cash some tickets. Let's have some fun. And, best of luck to everybody this weekend.
Let's have a week.
Let go.